I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Diffuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like Toby, keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Fuse to lose, built to win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode. And today, we're going to be talking about the second round of the NIT that starts today. It's only 2 games of the NIT today. And we're going to talk about the round of 32, which also starts today. Now, the NIT, that starts around 7 o'clock, and the round of 32 starts in about an hour. So, we'll talk about those 2 things. Before I talk about them, though, just a quick recap. First of all, my pick'em record says 91-51. It's supposed to say 90-51. So just FYI. Yesterday, tournament. As you can see, my record with the tournament yesterday was 9-11. Today it is 24-12. We went 15-1 yesterday. Our only loss yesterday was picking Santa Clara, which I feel like that's the right side. Ortega Owe, I talk about him all the time. I talk about how good he is. I talk about how he attacks the basket. I talk about how clutch he is. And it killed me yesterday. He hit the turnaround layup to tie the game at 70. Then Allen Graves hits the 3 to go up 3. And then Ortega Owe hits a daggone near half-court shot to force overtime. We should have went undefeated yesterday. But Ortega Owe hits the half-court shot to go to OT. And once he made that, I was like, man, it's over. At Santa Clara, they had their best shot there. And Ortega Owe just absolutely put a dagger in their heart. So, man, shout out Ortega Owe to keeping Kentucky alive. And then I'm going to shout out Brandon Garrison for those 2 blocks, but those are 2 terrible shots by Sash of Santa Clara. You have a 7-footer creating no separation, and you chuck 2 threes in his face. Like, why would you do that? And obviously, they got blocked. Now, the first one got blocked, and Ortega Owe got the rebound and traveled before he passed to the Garrison up ahead for a dunk. But, I mean, yes, he clearly traveled. Am I completely mad they missed it? Not really. That's a tough call to see. But he definitely traveled. And then the second one led to a basket as well. But shout out Brandon Garrison being huge with those 2 blocks on those 3-point shots. Shout out Owe for the half-court 3. And Kentucky survives and advances, where they will take on Iowa State. And Iowa State will more than likely not have Joshua Jefferson, who twisted his ankle and was on crutches in the Tennessee State game. So that's potentially a big loss for Iowa State. Other games that happened yesterday, Florida won by 50 against Prairie View. Miami pulls away late against Mizzou. They advance. Shout out again, Coach Jai Lucas. I know I mess with that coach heavy. Kansas wins against Cal Baptist. I mean, Dominique Dames put up 25, but it was a slow 25. What else happened? Iowa basically beats Clemson wire to wire. Shout out Bennett Thurston. Clemson again. Clemson, man, lost last year in the round of 64 to McNeese. Lost in the round of 64 this year to Iowa. Long was the year that I think Clemson made the Elite 8 by like beating Arizona in the Sweet 16 or something like that. That was a while ago, man. But still, shout out Clemson for making a dance. What else happened yesterday? St. John's dominated Northern Iowa again. Never saw what people saw in that potential upset. We We had all the 9 seeds advanced for the first time since 2019. Every 9 seed won. 9th seed TCU, excuse me. 9 seed Iowa. 9 seed Utah State was pulled away late from Villanova after being down 10 to start the second half. Villanova went on a run. Utah State went on a run on their own to win it. And 9 seed St. Louis beat Georgia badly. So all the 9 seeds won for the first time again since 2019. We had Virginia. They escaped against Wright State. Wright State at one point looked like it was destined for them to win that basketball game. I can't lie. I was nervous for Virginia. But Jakari White came up huge late in the ball game, making big plays. And Johan Grunlow came up huge in the later stages of that ball game. And Virginia outlasts Wright State. Man, when Sam Lewis got that stupid tech, I was so mad he did that. You had the announcer saying, I don't think that's a tech. I'm like, that's clearly a tech. When he got that tech, I thought it was over. I did. But then Jakari White and Johan Grunlow saved the day. Hey, man. Stop hating Tomo. Shout out my boy Tomo in the comments. Maryland fan, so you can see why he made the comment. Again, I can't be mad at you for feeling away by Kevin Willard because how he left. But, yeah, bro. What else happened before we get into these games in the yesterday stages of the tournament? Again, I'm just doing this little small recap off the cuff, so excuse me for pausing. But UConn pulled away late against Furman. That was actually a good game throughout. Furman was keeping pace with UConn. We had I already talked about Florida. I'm trying to remember the earlier games. Tennessee blows out Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio shot horrid from the 3-point line. But again, shout out Tennessee. Shout out Miami of Ohio for getting past the round of 68 and actually being included in the round of 64. Sucks that they lost, but they honestly lost to a better team. It is what it is. Speaking of the MAC, Texas Tech, they kind of won wire to wire against Akron. Jalen Petty, I told y'all, X Factor, 3-point shooter, big game against Akron. Ended up winning by 20. So shout out Texas Tech. They move on to take on Bama, who outlasted Hofstra. That play at the end of the game against Bama and Hofstra was so unnecessary. It was such a showing why you're a sore loser play. And he had he was talking like he did nothing wrong. Like, that was uncalled for. They got a jump ball. Like, why would you do that? But it is what it is. Hofstra is eliminated. LIU got spanked by Arizona, but that wasn't a surprise either. Arizona was shooting crazy from the field. They started off super hot. And I believe that's all the games. I believe that's all 16 games that happened yesterday. If I forgot some, charge it to my head, not to my heart. There's a lot of games that's been going on these past few days. So, without further ado, let's get into the NIT. We do the NIT first, and then we get into the tournament. Again, only 2 games in the NIT today. The first game is Dayton. I think Dayton's the road team because UNC Wilmington upset Yale, and I think Yale was a 1 seed, Dayton was a 2. So we got Dayton at UNC Wilmington. And if you remember what I said in the previous NIT episode, Dayton is one of my favorites to win the NIT. And Dayton is also 2.5-point favorites. This game is at 7:00 on ESPN Plus. So you will have to use 2 apps to watch the tournament and the NIT today because you can't get ESPN Plus on YouTube TV and stuff like that. So, but anyway, Dayton, they are led by Javon Bennett, averaging 16.5 points per game, 1.5 steals. Deshane Montgomery, averaging 13.4 points per game, 4.1 rebounds and 2.2 steals. And Amel Etienne, averaging 12 points per game, 5.9 rebounds and 1.2 blocks. Now, the X factor for Dayton is going to be the same X factor that I had last game, even though he didn't shoot it well, is Jordan Durkat. Jordan Durkat is going to be my X factor for Dayton. His ability to get to the basket, his ability to play the passing lanes, get steals. He's a player. If Durkat is playing well, affecting the game in other ways, it goes well for Dayton. And he is also still averaging 9.2 points per game. UNC Wilmington, they are led by Nolan Hodge, averaging 14.4 points per game, 4.6 rebounds. Patrick Wessler, again, huge buckets down the stretch against Yale to beat Yale on the road. He's averaging 13.6 points per game, 9.6 rebounds. And Christian May, averaging 10.7 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Madison Durr. He's going to have to factor in some points because Dayton can score the basketball and play defense. And he's averaging 10.3 points per game. So they're going to need him to step up as the fourth leading scorer on the team. But like I said, my winner, it's going to be one of my favorites to win it. It's Dayton. I have Dayton winning a ball game. I think they're playing really good basketball right now. And I think, honestly, no, not discrediting UNCW from the win against Yale, but Yale best player missed 4 free throws down the stretch. So I think that was big in the win for UNC Wilmington. Close game. But UNC Wilmington's at home. UNC Wilmington has some guys that can shoot the rock. I just think Dayton's is going to be a little bit too much. And I am going with the Dayton Flyers to beat UNC Wilmington. But nonetheless, still great season for UNC Wilmington if they lose the game. Now, the next NIT game we have, which is the last one for today, Joe says, Santa Clara losing broke my heart. Broke my heart too. Hey, man, I was hurt behind it. It broke my heart because obviously I wanted a perfect day after going 9-7 on Thursday. So I would have loved that 16-0 day, but unfortunately didn't happen. So shout out to Joe for listening. But next, we have the other NIT game, which is Liberty at Nevada. Now, Nevada is also a team I really like to win the NIT this year as well, but I also like Liberty. So this game, it should be a fun one. But again, it's on ESPN Plus. It's at 9 o'clock. Nevada 7.5-point home favorites. So again, you would need 2 different apps to watch the tournament and this game because it's on ESPN Plus. But Liberty, they are led by Brett Decker Jr., who's averaging 16.8 points per game. Caden Mahaney, who did not play against George Mason. I tried to find everything about injuries and stuff pre-game, couldn't find anything. Tried to find the reason why he didn't play after the game, couldn't find anything. He's questionable. I'm assuming he's going to play in this one, but again, I know nothing. I went looking, couldn't find it. But Caden Mahaney is averaging 13.4 points per game, and Zach Cleveland averaging 11.8 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, 6.8 assists, and 1.3 steals, and 1.3 blocks for the Flames. And the X factor again is going to be Colin Porter, especially if Caden Mahaney don't play, because he's going to be next up. Point guard who got 10 points against George Mason last game they played. He played well. He did get in foul trouble. Was in foul trouble late in the ball game, but they ultimately persevered to beat George Mason as dogs. Now, Nevada. Nevada is led by Corey Camper Jr., averaging 17 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Elijah Price, 12.5 points per game, 8.4 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and 1.6 blocks. And Tayshawn Comer averaging 11.3 points per game and 3.5 assists per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Vaughn Williams. Was my X factor last game, and last game against Murray State, he had 23 points. If he can, again, help the Big Three put up a ton of points, this game may not be close. But with that being said, and the questionability of Caden Mahaney, I am going with Nevada, the home team. I think Nevada is really talented. I think Liberty is talented too, but I think Liberty could live and die by the 3-point shot a lot, while Nevada, I feel like, can dominate more so inside against Liberty. So I do like that aspect of it. I think Corey Camper Jr. is going to be a tough cover for Liberty. Corey Mincy had a good game for George Mason against Liberty on Tuesday. So I do think Corey Camper Jr. is going to be a tough cover. And I think Elijah Price could very much so dominate inside. So with that being said, I love Brett Decker Jr. think he's a really good scorer for Liberty. Colin Porter plays with such a toughness. But again, the questionability of Caden Mahaney mixed with them having to cover Corey Camper and Elijah Price, I think it's going to be tough. And Vaughn Williams has been playing exceptionally well for Nevada lately. So give me Nevada at home to win this ball game and move on to the Elite Eight. I think right now it's the field of 16. So I think that moves them on to the Elite Eight. Joe said the UCF loss broke his heart. Didn't break mine. I know Sunday and Monday I said UCF could potentially beat UCLA. And I actually, felt like they could. I took UCF plus 5.5 points. But I ultimately went with UCLA. Now, I went with UCLA thinking Tyler Bilodeau was playing. And then right before the game, it's announced that Tyler Bilodeau is not even playing. But my X factor, that's the game I didn't talk about. My X factor, Eric Daly, had a big game. He had a huge game. He started the game 4 for 7, which was crazy that he took 7 shots to start within the first 7-8 minutes. But he ended up with 20 plus. So Eric Daly came through for your boy. But we move on to the tournament, and the first game of the round of 32 today We have St. Louis University, the Billikens, taking on Michigan University. 9th seed versus the 1 seed. I believe this is the Midwest. Michigan is favored by 12.5 points. This game is 12-10 on CBS on about 55 minutes. St. Louis, again, coming off a dominant win against Georgia, while Michigan put up 100, beat Howard by 21, but did not cover. So did they really win? But St. Louis, they are led by Robbie Avila, who is averaging 12.9 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 4.1 assists. Deion Brown averaging 11.3 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and Trey Green averaging 11 points per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Amari McCautry. He's going to have to put up points. He's averaging 10.4 points per game. Michigan is a team that's going to put up a ton of points. They have a Damar patrolling the paint. He's going to have to put in points. He's going to have to hold his weight against Michigan if they have a chance of beating Michigan. Now, Michigan, they're led by Big Ten Player of the Year, Yaxel Lundenberg, averaging 14.4 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, 1.2 steals, and 1.3 blocks. Elliot Cadeau, averaging 10 points per game, 5.7 assists, and Ade Mara, averaging 11.9 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, and 2.6 blocks. The X factor to me, again, is going to be Morez Johnson because the size that he has, St. Louis doesn't really have the size to match Michigan. So if he brings that extra presence down low, that'll be tough for St. Louis to counter. He's averaging 13.4 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks. And with that being said, I'm going with Michigan again, man. I'm going with Michigan. I think they're just a bit too much for St. Louis. Again, St. Louis has been up and down all year. I mean, not all year, excuse me, the end of the year, excuse me. But you got the up against Georgia, might be the down against Michigan. Michigan has been playing phenomenally. They did lose the Big Ten tournament championship game. Won my heart, can't lie. But I think Michigan's just way too talented, way too much for the St. Louis team. But I would still say congrats on the season for St. Louis. You just lost against a better team. And I'm actually taking Michigan minus the 12.5. Did not cover the 30.5. Should cover the 12.5 for your boy. Next, from one Michigan team to Big Brother, we got Louisville versus Michigan State. Michigan State is 4.5-point favorites. This game is 2:45 on CBS. Michigan State is the 3 seed, while Louisville is the 6 seed in the East region. Louisville is coming off the win against South Florida, which they shot well. Isaac McNeely had a game, but USF also did not shoot well from 3. I think they shot like 5 from 33 from 3. That is a recipe for disaster. While Michigan State coming off a blowout win against North Dakota State, excuse me, had an excellent game. Jeremy Fears didn't light it up scoring, but I think he had like 13 assists. Flying, we had a bunch of dunks. But we did cover. So before anybody tries to say, "Oh, you took a shot at Michigan about covering the spread," did y'all? Yeah, we covered the spread. So we won both. We really won. But Louisville, man, again, without Michael Brown Jr., he is out the whole first weekend of the tournament with a back injury. I don't even know if Louisville wins, if he'll be back next week anyway. But he is out today. So Louisville is led by Ryan Conwell Jr. Ryan Conwell is averaging 18.7 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Javon Hadley averaging 11.8 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and 1 steal. And Isaac McNeely averaging 11 points per game. Their X factor is again going to be Sonata Frew. And the reason why I say he's going to be the X factor because he's going to have to deal with both Carson Cooper and Jackson Kolar, which I think he'll mainly deal with Carson Cooper. They may have a guy like Javon Hadley or something on. I don't know. I don't know who they'll have on Jackson Kolar, but I think Frew is definitely going to deal with Carson Cooper because Carson Cooper is the more interior threat. Kolar can pull your big out to the perimeter and shoot the 3-ball. Michigan State, we're led by Jeremy Fears, averaging 15.4 points per game, 9.2 assists per game, and 1.2 steals. Jackson Kolar averaging 12.6 points per game, 9 rebounds, and Cohen Carr averaging 11.7 points per game and 5.3 rebounds. Now, I changed my X factor for this game. I think my X factor this game is going to be Jordan Scott. His defense ability, I think he'll be big on. I think we may put Jordan Scott on Ryan Conwell, which Jordan Scott is a really good perimeter defender. Jordan Scott has the ability to shoot the 3-ball, so I would love to see him take and make some threes. He's shooting the 3 at 37.1%, and he's averaging 5.9 points per game. Would love for him to get over his average. But my winner, I'm going with my Spartans, man. I just think with no Michael Brown Jr., Louisville, again, obviously is not as good when he's on the floor than when he's off the floor. I think Michigan State is a really good defensive team. I think we can really crowd their airspace with their guards. I think defensively we can affect our offense, and then offensively, yeah, at times we can go cold, but I think Jeremy Fears will get us in positions to make to get baskets, get good shots. I would love to see Kurt Tank hit the three, but I think overall I'm going with Michigan State. We have, I think the bigs. I think we have the advantage in the front court. They have the advantage in terms of scoring guards. I will give them that, but we are a really good defensive team, so I think we can help affect that as well. So I am going with Michigan State, and again, if we do not make it past this game, I am 100% okay with us being put in Dave's doghouse. So I am going with Michigan State. Next, we got 9th seed TCU taking on 1 seed Duke. This game is 5:15 on CBS. Duke is 11.5-point favorites. Now, a small update, because I wouldn't call this a big update. Patrick Nwamba is now escalated to questionable. Now, I'm not sure if he's playing or not. Last I checked, he's questionable to return today, which that would be a big boost if he plays, but I'm not saying it's a big news because it's not like it sounds like he is playing, but that's some hope. Some hope for Duke fans. TCU, man. Surprisingly, TCU did better when David Punch got in foul trouble. I was very taken aback by that. But, I mean, who's that? I think it was Xavier Edmonds got hot from three. Oh, no, it might have been Michael Robinson. Michael Robinson got hot from three in that first half, and they were up 15 at halftime. Ohio State battled back, had a chance to win it late, but TCU ended up winning the game. Duke coming off of a comeback win against Siena where it looked scary, very much so down the stretch. I know a lot of people who had Duke in the national championship was sweating bricks, and I don't blame you. Spoiler alert, I don't have Duke going that far. But TCU, they're led by David Punch, averaging 14.4 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and 2 blocks. Xavier Edmonds, averaging 12.7 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, and 1 steal. And Jaden Pierre, averaging 10.3 points per game, 1 steal per game. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Michael Robinson. Michael Robinson has the size. Again, Duke is missing Patrick Nwamba, which puts a lot of interior work on the shoulders of Cam Boozer and Malik Brown, which we saw Malik Brown get in foul trouble. Can he help force the foul trouble with Punch, Edmonds, and the guys? Can they help force foul trouble with Malik Brown again? He had 18 points versus for Ohio State. He's averaging 10.7 points per game. So that's my X factor for TCU. Now, Duke, they're led by obviously Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer's averaging 22.5 points per game, 10.3 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 1.4 steals. Isaiah Evans averaging 14.9 points per game. And Caden Boozer, due to the injury of Caleb Foster, averaging 7.4 points per game. My Lord. 7.4 points per game. Which, side note, Caleb Foster, I don't think he's coming back for the tournament. If they do advance further into the tournament, I think he's done. A fractured foot this late in the season. I think this is all speculation. I mean, I'm not there. I'm just telling you my opinion. I think he's done for the year. But their X factor is, again, it's going to be Malik Brown, because I think TCU is going to be attacking the paint a ton, and Malik Brown is the big next in line. So he needs to stay out of foul trouble. His defense will be big. Stop reaching so much because your team needs you. He is averaging, I think, like 1.9 steals per game. Forgot to write it down, but his defense is going to be key. But my winner, I went with Duke. I went with Duke to win this. I think Duke, Cam Boozer didn't have a good game against Siena, and I think that was like the leading cause of why they didn't blow them out or didn't look as good. Isaiah Evans, he had a solid game. But I think Duke defensively kept them afloat, kept them around in striking distance, and ultimately allowed them to come back and win. But I think that this might be a different Duke team today. Now, I will say TCU, really hot team. So I'm not saying Duke blows them out. But TCU is a hot team. Duke's a really good team. I do think Duke didn't play their A game. You even seen that Coach Shire said that Coach McNamara outcoached them, which shout out to him because it takes a lot to admit that in the media. But I think Duke is going to be a little bit more refocused going against a team in TCU that's been really hot and beat a really good Ohio State team. So I'm taking Duke in this one, but I expect a really good ball game. Next, We have Texas A&M versus Houston, which this is a rematch from 2 years ago. I believe in the round of 32 as well. I can't remember if it was the round of 32 or the round of 64, but they played like a double overtime game, something like that. Wade Taylor and I can't remember his name, his backcourt mate. I can't remember his name, bro. It's escaped me. But Wade Taylor and them had a really good game. Houston ended up winning that game, but Texas A&M, man, they took them to the wire in that game. I remember that game. Kev actually picked Texas A&M to win it. We all clowned him for it, and then we was like, dang, they almost won. And he was rooting for it. He ended up still winning the bracket, which pissed me off, but I'm Googling it now just to get the real particulars. But I actually remember that game. So that's a rematch, and that essentially what was that? That would be 2024, right? No, yep. Houston won 100-95 in overtime, not double overtime. It was overtime. Funny, Houston was the 1 seed, Texas A&M was the 9 seed. So I made a change of 1 seed. But in that game, Wade Taylor, I think, went crazy. It was Wade Taylor who had 21. Tyrese Radford, he had 27. 10 for 22 from the field and 15 boards. While for Houston, Emmanuel Sharp had 30, LJ Cryer had 20, and Jamal Shedd had 21. And Jamal Shedd, LJ, and Javier Francis and Emmanuel Sharp all fouled out of that game. But they still found a way to win. So it's a rematch of that game, which was a really good game. Texas A&M now, they are, this game is 6-10 on TNT. Houston is favored by 10.5 points. Now, Houston. I said Houston, right? Houston's favored by 7.5. Just want to make sure. Texas A&M, they are led by Rashawn Agee. Rashawn Agee is averaging 14.9 points per game, 8.9 rebounds, and 1 steal. Rylan Griffin, who apparently had St. Mary's in a ruckus, averaging 11.4 points per game and 1.6 steals. And Ruben Dominguez averaging 10.3 points per game. Now, my X factor for this one is Pop Isaacs. Pop Isaacs is coming off the bench, and he's averaging 9.9 points per game off the bench. It's going to be big for him to keep the scoring afloat when Texas A&M does go to their bench. While Houston, they're led by Kingston Flemings. Kingston Flemings averaging 16.4 points per game, 4 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and 1.6 steals. Emmanuel Sharp averaging 15.3 points per game, 1.2 steals. And Milos Uzan averaging 11.1 points per game, 4 assists, and 1 steal per game. Their X factor to me is going to be JoJo Tugler. JoJo Tugler is going to have to help enforce the paint and rebound the ball, averaging 5.3 rebounds per game and 1.5 blocks. I could have went with Mercy Miller, again, to counteract the bench scoring of Pop Isaacs. I ended up going with JoJo Tugler, just, him and Chris Sinak controlling the paint. But I ultimately went with Houston. I think Houston is a really solid team. I do. And I think Texas A&M is a team that, they beat St. Mary's, but I don't know if I trust them against better competition. Texas A&M was kind of reeling towards the end of the year. They were at one point second in the SEC and started tumbling down the mountain. Ended up getting blown out, I believe, by Oklahoma. While I think Houston, they do take advantage or beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they do it very well. So I'm going to take Houston in this one to move on to the Sweet 16 in this matchup. Next, we have Texas versus Gonzaga. And again, all roads lead to Bryce Huff not playing for the Zags, which makes them a very vulnerable team. While Texas getting some good wins. Texas beat, not SMU, Texas beat NC State, then moved on to beat BYU in spite of AJ DeBanson scoring 35. So Texas has been playing some good basketball lately. Gonzaga, they escaped Kennesaw State, won by 9. Gonzaga, they won the WCC regular season and tournament. Regular season was split with St. Mary's, but again, with no Braden Huff, it is a little spooky for Gonzaga. I'll say that. But Texas, they are led by Dalen Swain. Dalen Swain is averaging 17.6 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1.7 steals. And just in case I forgot to say, Texas is an 11 seed, Gonzaga is the 3 seed. This game is 7-10 on either True TV or TBS, wherever you're viewing pleasure. And Gonzaga is actually 6.5 point favorites in this matchup. But again, Texas led by Dallas Swain and Matas Vokaitis, averaging 15.7 points per game, 7 point rebounds, and Tremont Mark averaging 13.8 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, and 1 steal. Now, my X factor for this one is actually going to be Shadal Weaver. Shadal Weaver has been the ultimate hustle guy, making every right play, getting big rebounds, and they need that still today to counteract Gonzaga, especially with guys like Tyon Grant Foster on the court. He's going to have to be every little bit of the dirty work guy for the Texas Longhorns, creating extra possessions, making the right plays, things like that, maybe creating steals, stuff like that. They're going to need him to do that to create for the Longhorns. Now, Gonzaga, they're led by Graham Ike. Graham Ike. I don't know why I'd be saying his name like that. Graham Ike, who's averaging 19.7 points per game, 8.2 rebounds. Tyon Grant Foster, averaging 11.2 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks. And Mario St. Superi, averaging 8.6 points per game, 3.8 assists, and 1.4 steals. Now, their X factor for me today is going to be Jalen Worley. And he's going to have to help in the interior. He's averaging 7 points per game and 4.8 rebounds. He's going to have to help sustain the interior presence for the Bulldogs, help EK, especially with no Braden Huff. But ultimately, I did go Gonzaga. I went Gonzaga, but I'm not going to lie. I am taking the points with Texas. I just think Mark Few is a good coach. I think Mark Few will out Sean Miller. I'm sorry. Graham Ike, he is undersized, and he is going against Vokaitis, who is a 7-footer. So I would love to see how that works. I think Graham Ike can outspeed him. Like if he get the ball like elbow, free throw line, he can possibly face up, jab, get to his spots, get to the rim quicker. But it is going to be a tough matchup. I think this is a tough matchup because Texas can score. Texas can score the ball. It is going to be tough. But I ultimately win Gonzaga. I think Tyon Grant Foster brings that toughness, the ability to score off the bench. St. Superi can hit the outside shot, and I think Worley is going to have to help with that paint presence. I think it's a close one, but I think Gonzaga edges it out. Next, we have a team who overcame allegedly the largest comeback in the round of 64 history in VCU, which they ain't killed my bracket because I had UNC losing here anyway. But I mean, in terms of the bracket challenge, that was a good little 10 points I could have used. But they are the 11 seed, taking on 3 seed Illinois. This game is 7:50 on CBS. Now, Illinois is 11.5-point favorites. VCU led by Terrence Hill Jr. Terrence Hill Jr. averaging 14.9 points per game. Lazar Djokovic averaging 13.6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks. And Jadrian Tracy averaging 9.6 points per game. Now, this time I went with the X factor of Nick Lewis and his ability to score and defend, averaging 8.9 points per game, 1.2 steals. I think they're going to have to try to outscore and you want to outscore, that's how you win the game. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like, they don't have the height on Illinois, clearly. Illinois is one of the tallest teams in the country. They don't have the better guard play than Illinois. So they're going to have to try to win a shootout, which I don't even know if they can do that. They're going to have to try something. I don't know how they came back down 19. Again, I fell asleep on that game. I was up for a long time. Tried to stay up, ended up waking up, and I think Gonzaga Kennesaw State was on my screen. When I was watching the game, ended up seeing a different game on my TV. But Illinois, they are led by Keaton Wagler. Keaton Wagler averaging 17.9 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. David Merkovich averaging 13.8 points per game, 8 rebounds, and Andrei Stojakovic averaging 13.3 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game. Now, their X factor to me, beyond the height, is going to be Kylan Boswell, who's another point guard on the floor, but he can also score the basketball. He's going to have to help with the guard play for Illinois. He's averaging 13.2 points per game. He can facilitate the ball as well. They could play him. I think they normally start together, but then they could stagger their minutes. I think Kylan Boswell, is going to be big in this matchup. And I ultimately went with Illinois. To be honest, I'm going to be real. VCU should not be here. It's no way North Carolina should have blew a 19-point lead, but it happened. It is what it is. They are here. But I don't think if you go up a 19 against Illinois with this VCU team, I don't think that they're coming back. Illinois, again, way too much size. They have the guard play with Wagler and Boswell. They have a guy, Kyle Davis, that does all the dirty work and can shoot the three. And Illinois can score at a high level, and they're not too shabby on the defensive end as well. So I'm taking Illinois in this matchup, but ultimately, hey, great for VCU, man. Really great for VCU. And I'm not being sarcastic. Next, We got the second to last game. We have 5th seed Vanderbilt taking on 4th seed Nebraska. This was my bracket matchup. So shout out for that. That's something good, right? Vanderbilt is 1.5-point favorites. This game is 8:45 on TNT. Again, Nebraska won their first ever NCAA tournament game against Troy. It was the battle of the teams to win their first ever NCAA game. And again, I went with Nebraska. Nebraska's been making history all year, and I figured there was another chance to make history. Now, Vanderbilt, led by Tyler Tanner. Tyler Tanner is averaging 19.3 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, 5.1 assists, and 2.3 steals. Duke Miles averaging 16.4 points per game, 4.4 assists, and 2.7 steals. And Tyler Nickel averaging 13.4 points per game. Their X factor to me is A.K. Okiriki. His ability to play defense and shoot the three ball. He's shooting the three ball at 38.9% from the three-point line, averaging 9.7 points per game. If he can help defend guys like Price Sanford, maybe a guy like Jamarcus Lawrence, a guy like Brandon Frazier, that'd be big for Vanderbilt. Now, Nebraska, they're led by Rink Mass. Rink Mass averaging 13.5 points per game, 5.8 rebounds. Price Sanford averaging 18 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 1 steal, who had a heck of a first half against Troy. Boy was knocking down shots. And Sam Hoiberg averaging 9.4 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and 2.1 steals. Now, that X factor to me is going to be Jamarcus Lawrence. He's going to have to shoot the three ball at a really high clip. He's shooting the three ball at 35.3%. I think his three ball would be big in beating Vanderbilt. But in my bracket, I had Vanderbilt. So I'm not deviating from my bracket. I'm going with Vanderbilt. Again, Nebraska, been creating history. This would be historic to make the Sweet 16 for the first time ever. But I think the history stops here. I really like the guard play of Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles. If Tyler Nickel can knock down a three, that'd be big. But ultimately, I think Dwight McLaughlin can move with Rink Mass, and that's going to be a challenge, I think. Nebraska, again, really tough-nosed, hard-fought team. They do like to muck up the game. Sam Hoiberg makes hard-nosed plays. And obviously, Nebraska could win this game. But I think ultimately, Vanderbilt is super battle-tested and beating teams like Florida, making it to the SEC tournament championship game. I'm taking Vandy here, man. I am going to take Vandy in this spot. I think it's a tough game, but I think Vandy edges it out, being more. I don't want to say more battle tested because the Big Ten is also a gauntlet, but I'm gonna say battle tested. Not saying Nebraska's not, but I think Nebraska was the team that was better at home. So I'm gonna take Vanderbilt here. And the last game we have for y'all, which should have been Wisconsin versus Arkansas, but Chase Johnston wanted to just go inferno out of nowhere. We have High Point versus Arkansas. High Point being 11 seed or 12 seed, excuse me. Arkansas being a 4 seed. This game is 9:45 on True TV/TBS. Arkansas is favored by 11.5 points. High Point, again, coming off the very big upset against Wisconsin. Arkansas coming off the blowout win against Hawaii. And I believe they actually covered their pregame spread. So shout out to them. They actually won. But High Point, they're led by Terry Anderson. Terry Anderson averaged 16 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.5 steals, who did not have a great first half, but absolutely picked it up in the second half. Rob Martin, who had an all-around great game, averaging 15.6 points per game, 3.9 assists, and 1.5 steals. And Cameron Fletcher, averaging 12.7 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, 1.2 steals, who did actually hit a big three late in that ball game. He had a solid game for High Point. Now, you probably guess what my X factor is? It's Chase Johnston. Chase Johnston, without that three-point shooting that he displayed at the end of the game, they don't win that game against Wisconsin. He's shooting the three ball at a 49.3% clip. They going to need him to knock down threes against a very explosive and high-octane Arkansas offense. Speaking of Arkansas, they are led by Darius Acuff. Darius Acuff is averaging 23 points per game and 6.6 assists. Malik Thomas averaging 15.5 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. And Trevon Brazile averaging 13.4 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, 1.6 steals, and 1.7 blocks. The X factor to me is always going to be Billy Richmond. His scoring and rebounding abilities, averaging 11 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, can shoot the ball, very explosive athlete. He's going to be big if Arkansas beats High Point. But my winner, I'm taking Arkansas. I think one issue that could have been an issue with Wisconsin, I don't even think Wisconsin played bad. So let me preface that by saying that. But I think Arkansas has better athletes than Wisconsin. So Arkansas's athletes can stick more with High Point's athletes. Rob Martin was having a field day on Wisconsin guards. And what kind of threw me off is the fact that they went to break and came back and talked about Greg Gard in the huddle making a defensive set, and Nick Boyd grabbed the marker and said, I got Rob Martin, and proceeded not to guard Rob Martin. That threw me off. But I think Arkansas is just too athletic, too high octane of an offense. I can see an over or the plus 11.5 hitting here, but I think Acuff, something different, man. He's special. And he's not gonna do like John Blackwell, amazing first half. Second half, missed the layup, missed the front end of a 1-and-1. Nick Boyd, not so good first half, had an amazing second half. Darius Acuff is going to have a great 40 minutes, I believe. So that's going to be tough to overcome. So I am going to go with Arkansas and their offensive abilities and their athletes. Because you even heard Cameron Fletcher say, hey, we feel like we got the better athletes on our side. I don't think that's the case in this game. But that's all the games I have for y'all today. Again, man, let's hope for a great day. The round of 68 kicked my butt. Thursday's round of 64 kicked my butt. But Friday, what difference a day makes? Turn the whole thing around. We're almost 40 games above 500. Again, we're 90-51, not 91-51. 24-12 in the tournament. So that's good. I mean, obviously, it's not as great as last year. Last year, we had a perfect bracket through the first day and a half. But it is what it is. You can't expect that to happen every year. It's the ebbs and flows of having a podcast. But with that being said, I appreciate everybody stopping in, for tuning in. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you have not already. It helps the channel, helps the network. Speaking of the network, we have multiple shows on the network. We have the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave every Monday and Thursday between 7 and 8:30-ish. So make sure y'all check them out. We have Unfazed, who went live on Thursday. That's featuring Joe and AJ. So make sure you check them out. We have Baseball with Teddy, BWT. The Yankees actually is the home opener. Did not know that. Well, not home opener. They are opening day, technically. I think the Giants are actually the home opener. I think the Yankees are going to San Fran. But either way, the season begins on Wednesday with the Giants and the Yankees. I'm pretty sure Teddy's going to have a video about that. So be on the lookout for that. FFC Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Obviously, again, fantasy football season, because football season is over. But drafts around the corner. We got like a month until draft time. Free agency. We have free agency. So just be on the lookout for content that he drops. We have RBO, Real Ballers Only, featuring Vaughn, NBA show. My Pistons got the big dub against the Warriors. No K versus no Steph. We came out on top. So another big win. I'm really spooked about the season now that K has a collapsed lung. But be on the lookout for him, NBA show. We have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sport. Again, if Michigan State loses to Louisville, I'm 1,000% okay with us being put in the doghouse, because we're not supposed to lose in this spot. So we better come out swinging. We better win. Hey, don't piss me off today, please, Michigan State. And lastly, we have In the Red Corner featuring Tyreek and Tomo boxing episodes. They don't go live every Sunday, but when they do go live, it is on Sundays. So make sure you check them out. It's around 6:30 on Sundays. And last but not least, we have Zero Sports Talk with Griffey. Newest show. I don't believe he goes live, but just be on the lookout for when he does drop episodes and tune in. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to those shows as well. And with that being said, we have about 30 minutes till tip off. So I'm about to get ready for tip off. Y'all enjoy these games. Enjoy this beautiful Saturday. Hopefully, if your team plays today, good luck. If your team don't, whoever, may God be with your brackets. And I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we got 14 games to go over. We have 6 NIT games and 8 more tournament games to go over tomorrow. But tomorrow is the end of a hellacious week. So last 14 games of the week, and then Monday, Tuesday, I think we rest, because I don't think no NIT is going on Monday or Tuesday. And then it's back at it, I believe, Thursday, because Thursday is the Sweet 16, the start of the Sweet 16. But shout out my boy Joe. He said great show, and he said he putting some of these picks on the ticket. I got some of them on the ticket as well. But until tomorrow, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Saturday. I'm gone.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.